Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast.
Great to be back.
Today we are looking at a really critical question for a lot of investors. Is BigBear.ai a good time to buy right now?
It's definitely a name that's generating some buzz.
Yeah, exactly. So we've pulled together the latest financials. It's Q2 2025. We've looked at the technical action on the chart. And maybe most importantly, we're going to dissect these potentially huge government contract catalysts.
Right. Those catalysts seem to be the main driver of the narrative right now.
Absolutely. And hey, if you find this analysis helpful, please do hit that subscribe button. Give us a like. It really helps us out.
Definitely.
And also, if there's a specific company you want us to analyze next, just drop its name in the comments below. We do read those.
Yeah, absolutely. So this review today, it's really essential because, the BigBear.ai story is kind of a study in contradictions, isn't it?
It really is.
So for you, the listener, we really need to cover, their financial resilience, how they're handling losses, their competitive edge, especially in defense, and crucially, the immediate risks you need to be aware of.
Okay, let's dive into that. The fundamental scorecard first. The recent performance numbers, honestly, they look a bit tough.
They do. Q2 2025 revenue, it landed at $32.5 million.
Right, and that's an 18% drop compared to last year, Q2 2024, when they did nearly $40 million.
Yeah, $39.8 million. So definitely a noticeable slowdown there.
But then what's really striking is management's reaction, right?
Exactly. Despite that dip, they've put out this very bullish full-year 2025 revenue forecast. They're aiming for $125 million to $140 million.
That's quite a leap from a $32.5 million quarter. Where's that confidence coming from? It's not the recent result.
No, it's all about the future pipeline. They're pointing directly at these massive government spending bills that Congress just passed, money targeted right at their core areas, Homeland Security, DoD.
Ah, so the one big, beautiful bill they mentioned, that's the funding stream they're expecting to tap into.
That's the idea. They believe that funding unlocks a wave of contracts for them. An inflection point, as they call it.
Okay, but let's be real. Right now, profitability isn't there. The company's got negative profit margins.
Correct.
And the trailing 12 months net loss, it's huge. Negative $443.92 million.
It is a staggering number, and that's the core contradiction we mentioned.
And nearly $500 million loss on a TTM basis. If they're burning cash like that, how does an investor square that with a bullish guidance? How much time do they have?
Well, that's where you have to pivot from the income statement, the losses, to the balance sheet. And that's where the story gets interesting again.
Okay.
Their cash position. As of June 30th, 2025, they hit a record cash balance, $390.8 million.
Wow. Okay. So nearly $400 million in the bank. That does provide a cushion.
A significant cushion. Excellent liquidity. It gives them a runway, resilience. It lets them keep investing in R&D, maybe even look at M&A, even while the operations are still loss-making.
So the strategy is clearly growth first, profit later, no dividend, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. Scale is the name of the game for them right now.
But let's push on that runway idea. A $444 million annual loss rate against roughly $390 million in cash. That doesn't sound infinite.
No, it doesn't.
What's the implied timeline here? Are these big federal contracts expected to kick in, really soon? Within the next year or so to stabilize things?
That seems to be the market's bet right now, giving them the benefit of the doubt. Management's argument is that this kind of defense contracting, it's inherently lumpy.
Lumpy meaning?
Meaning revenue doesn't flow smoothly quarter to quarter. You finish a big project, there's a gap, then the next big multi-year program kicks in. So they'd argue that 18% decline might just be one of those gaps before the new federal money starts flowing.
Okay, so the focus isn't so much the quarterly burn, but more their unique access to these big, sticky government contracts.
Precisely. Which brings us to their competitive moat.
Right. AI is a crowded space.
Yeah.
What stops someone else just coming in and grabbing those contracts? Why are they sticky?
It really comes down to their deep integration within the whole U.S. national security world. They're established. They provide AI-powered decision intelligence, specifically for national security, border protection, defense agencies. These are highly specialized, secure environments.
Okay.
Their AI and machine learning platforms are proprietary, and they have these long-standing relationships, the trust that creates real barriers.
Yeah.
You can't just show up and bid. You need clearances, history, integrations, stuff BigBear.ai already has.
And that ties directly into why they're so well positioned for this new wave of government spending, like that $170 billion DHS tech budget.
Exactly. Their tech-focused things like digital identity, fusing data, predictive analytics, it maps directly onto the government's high-priority shopping list right now. That one big, beautiful bill essentially directs funds to the very agencies they already work closely with.
And it's not just abstract funding talk, right? There was a concrete example recently.
Yes, that's important. On September 23rd, they announced a collaboration with SMX. They're using BigBear.ai tech to boost maritime awareness for the U.S. Navy's Fourth Fleet during this big international exercise, UNITAS 2025.
UNITAS 2025
Yeah.
involves over 20 nations, you said. And that sounds like a pretty high-profile showcase.
It is. It's a tangible, real-world deployment.
But is it just a showcase? Or does an exercise like UNITAS translate directly into long-term recurring revenue?
It's more of a high-profile demonstration that helps secure future bids. Proving your tech works well under pressure in a complex multinational military exercise like that, that's invaluable validation.
Okay. Builds credibility, shortens the sales cycle for the next big contract.
Precisely. It validates the tech at the highest levels.
All right, so let's switch gears a bit.
Yeah.
How is the market actually reacting to all this? What's the stock price doing? The technicals.
Well, the technical picture has turned quite positive recently. There's strong short-term momentum. The stock gained 14.75% in just the past 2 weeks.
14, almost 15%. That's a significant move. Definitely confirms an uptrend, probably linked to news like UNITAS.
Very likely triggered by that positive news flow, yeah.
Yeah.
And the technical models, they're really backing up this bullish story driven by the government spending angle.
How bullish are we talking?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. The models are projecting a pretty substantial 3-month price target range. We're looking at $14 and the low end, up to maybe $21.53 on the high end.
Whoa. Okay, wait. The stock closed around $6.73 recently, you said?
That's right, around $6.73.
So these models are suggesting a potential double, maybe even a triple in the share price fairly quickly in the next 3 months.
That's what the technical and quantitative models are indicating, yes. Driven by those catalysts. And analyst consensus reflects that too. It's currently a strong buy.
What's specifically driving that wide range, though? $14, $21. Is that just chart patterns, or is it factoring in the expected revenue boost?
It's really a mix of both, which explains the width.
Yeah.
The short-term trend, the 15% pop, that's likely volume accumulation, maybe institutional buying after the news, breaking above moving averages, classic technical signals.
Right.
But the upper end of that range, hitting $21, that is leaning more heavily on fundamental modeling. It essentially assumes near-perfect execution on landing those big federal contracts. It's pricing in that $125, $140 million guidance becoming reality as the Q4 funds start rolling out.
So a best-case scenario baked into the top end.
Pretty much. It's a risk-adjusted forecast if they deliver exactly as hoped.
Which brings us neatly to risk. Every opportunity has downsides. We've talked to the potential, but what are the counter-arguments? What could go wrong here?
The number one company-specific risk is execution, plain and simple.
Meaning they just don't land the contracts or can't deliver profitable.
Exactly. They have this potential pipeline, but the big challenge, as we saw in Q2, is actually converting that into recurring profitable revenue. If they can't scale effectively and make those deals count financially, that net loss situation won't improve. That's the core risk until the cash starts flowing consistently from these new programs.
And for anyone tempted by those high-price targets, what about volatility? Is this a smooth ride?
Oh, definitely not. You absolutely have to be prepared for big swings. The stock has a high beta 3.16.
Okay, beta 3.16. Remind us what that means.
Sure. Beta measures how much a stock tends to move compared to the overall market, say the S&P 500. A beta over 1 means it's more volatile. A beta of 3.16 means, historically, if the market moves 1%, BigBear.ai tends to move about 3.16% in the same direction.
So amplified ups and amplified downs. Got it. Not for the faint of heart.
Precisely. High volatility is part of the deal here.
Okay, let's touch on the speculative side for a moment. What's the chatter? Any interesting rumors floating around online, even if they're just, well, rumors?
There's definitely chatter, particularly in financial forums. Some of the recurring themes include potential partnerships, maybe with big federal integrators, the huge defense primes, or even cloud providers.
Okay, makes sense.
There's also talk about maybe getting included in some of those specialized AI-focused ETFs that could drive some passive buying.
Right.
And, you know, the perennial rumor for smaller defense tech players, speculation about being an acquisition target for a larger defense contractor looking to buy that government access and AI capability.
Okay, but we need a big flashing disclaimer here, right?
Absolutely crucial. We have to stress these are unverified rumors. They come from online forums, discussion boards. They are purely speculative. You should treat them as very low probability, high risk ideas, not established facts.
Got it. Pure speculation. So, sticking to the knowns, what are the concrete events, the immediate catalysts that investors should actually watch over the next, say, 3 months?
Okay, 3 key things to monitor. First, the Unitas 2025 exercise wraps up around October 6th. Keep an eye out for any official feedback or reports on how their tech performed. That will definitely impact sentiment.
Okay, you need his feedback. Number 2.
Second, Q3 2025 earnings. That's expected around October 30th. This will be critical. We need updates on contracts, management's tone on the new funding, and any revised guidance.
October 30th, Q3 earnings. Got it. And third.
Third, just generally watching for potential contract announcements. Q4 is when the new DHS and DoD funding really starts getting dispersed to contractors, so we could start seeing actual wins materialize in the coming months.
Okay, so Unitas results, Q3 earnings call, and potential Q4 contract news. Those are the near-term milestones.
Those are the key ones, yes.
So bringing it all together, based on the analysis, the overall view seems pretty positive, right? Like an 8.5 out of 10 bullish rating.
Yeah, that rating reflects the potential leverage from that huge federal spending cycle, plus that very strong cash cushion. Those factors are seen as outweighing, for now at least, the very real execution risks and the current lack of profitability.
It balances the risk and reward.
Exactly. So the opportunity for investors, you could see it 2 ways. There's maybe a short-term tactical trade playing for that $14.90 to $21.53 range if the catalysts hit right.
Riding momentum.
Right. Or there's a longer-term position, betting on the multi-year growth trend in AI specifically for defense and national security. For that long-term investor, the big question is just how quickly can they scale revenue to get ahead of that cash burn?
Makes sense. Okay, before we wrap up, let's leave you, our listener, with a final thought to chew on.
Okay.
So BigBear.ai is super focused right now on these specialized government contracts, right? Highly secure, defense-focused. What if? What if one of those unconfirmed rumors turned out to be slightly different? What if they landed a major non-defense contract, say a big logistics deal with a Fortune 100 shipping company or something commercial?
Interesting twist.
How would that kind of diversification, moving beyond just federal reliance, fundamentally change the risk profile? And maybe even the growth ceiling for BigBear.ai?
That's a really good question. It would certainly change the narrative. Less reliance on cyclical government budgets, potentially a much larger addressable market, but also different competitive pressures.
Definitely something for you to think about and explore on your own. That concludes our analysis for today. Thanks for tuning in.